Okay, so today what we're going to do is we're just going to show some of the books that we're getting ready to send off. In this case, most of them will be going to CGC, but we have a couple really special books that you'll be excited about that are going off to CBCS, and I'll explain the reasons why we're using them in this case. But the highlight of this shipment will be a copy of Showcase number 4. This is a book that came in a collection with some other showcases, another flash showcase here, and then some other showcases. Back here you've got 2 challengers, you've got 11, 12, actually 3, you've got number 7. I believe Showcase 6 was the first Challengers of the Unknown, obviously very successful because they ran them right away. But you also have another showcase here of the Flash, showcase of the Flash. So this is the collection that came into the store, I think just about 2 weeks ago now. It's from an estate here, not quite locally, but fairly close. And these are obviously the best books that came out of it. And I would like to point out that contrary to a lot of popular beliefs, we paid 90% of market for these books. So we're paying prices here at A1 Comics that are as good as you're going to get in an auction house. We don't go by Overstreet price guide necessarily. We go by the market. So we all know that on the keys, on the better books, on the odd esoteric stuff that's really caught people's fancy, we're very aggressive in going after those books, and that's the reason that we ended up with this collection. Anyway, so Showcase number 4 is the first Silver Age Flash, and a lot of people consider it to be the very first Silver Age comic and the beginning of the Silver Age. So Flash is redone from his Golden Age outfit, origin and everything else, and it's an awesome book. So what we did with this here, and it's a little bit difficult, I know you're out there, I'm looking at the book and trying to explain it to you. It actually came in very nice shape, and it was again unique in that of all the collections that we get in, and we will get sometimes in a week we'll get 2 to 3 collections a day, sometimes in a week we'll get a collection a day. There's plenty of material, of course, that we turn away that we just have too much of, but not often do you get a vintage silver or golden age collection where all the books just come in a cardboard box and they're just laying on top of each other, no bags, no boards, and that's exactly the way that this came in. So the fact that it came in that condition, the condition that it's in now, is remarkable. The first box of books that we got from this collection was all 50s material and all rather rough, more in the 2.0 to 4.0 with a few 4.5s in that range. And then we get this collection where more of the books are 4.5 or better. And again, rarely happens, but the best book is pretty much in the best condition. So pretty unique in a lot of different ways. So Showcase 4, again, first appearance of the Flash, beginning of the Silver Age, really set DC in motion as to revamping their entire lineup, and partially led to the way of Marvel Atlas at that time coming up with some different ideas and deciding to do some different things. So this book historically has huge significance. It's by far the best copy that I've ever had, best copy that the shop has ever seen. Actually, I take that back. I have seen a nicer copy come into the shop. It was from a collector that he didn't have a lot of books, but he had this left over from his childhood, and he just decided to keep it for a while. So we'll keep tabs on that one. But in the meantime, this one is by far the best I have, and way above average as far as condition. We didn't have to do a lot to it. I did do some cleaning on it. I do all my own cleaning. It's a very tedious, time-consuming process. You have to be extremely careful, particularly when you get into older books where you just don't know how strong the paper still is. When it was first printed, it was great, but age, time, that will do a lot to paper. Just exposure to oxygen, certainly exposure to light, of which this book had none. But as you can see, very clean on the back side. It's a really nice book, did not have to do a lot, very flat to begin with. We did have the book pressed, and I debated on that for quite some time because it didn't need a lot. Again, it was really astounding how well this book was when it came in. So we didn't have to do a lot, but we felt like there was just enough to do we might gain a half a point, and a half a point on a book of this caliber is significant. It had a vertical trough here along the spine, which is very common. A lot of people call that a stacking crease. A lot of times if you've just read a book enough, it'll start to develop a little trough right there. If you read it a lot, it'll eventually kind of break down the spine. You'll start getting all the spine cracks and everything like that. It also had down here at this corner, it had some rumpling and stuff, as well as along the edges. So we felt like taking all of that out would add to the book. But as you can tell, the colors and everything else, the contrast of the colors, the white background, all are excellent. The other thing that gave me pause when I was looking at this book was there is a tear here. And there's a little roughness on the back cover, that top and bottom, that you don't see on the front cover. I just wasn't quite sure how that was going to turn out. So we were very, very cautious in pressing this book. Not something that I do. Actually, that's something that we hire out here at A1. Honestly, I'd rather find the books and kind of mess around with them and have everybody else do the pressing and the grading. I just enjoy the finding and the finding the customers for that book. So that's the story on Showcase. I'm not going to open it up. Excellent page quality. Just a lot of really redeeming qualities about this book. So that's one of the things that we're doing here. And one of the things that we did just in being cautious was, and we were fortunate in that we had so many other Showcase issues that came immediately after this. We actually had the Showcase here. The Challengers #7 had not a severe, but a pretty good spine roll. So we were able to take that out, flatten out the book. I'm sure that improved it at least a grade and a half, which is really nice. It's already a nice looking book. As you can tell, all the colors are really, really good on these books. But my point being is by doing that and having these other books, we pressed all these other books before we actually tackled the Showcase 4. We just wanted to see how the paper would react. We wanted to make sure that under the pressing procedures that we were using, we weren't going to create a spine split or something like that. And there's all those horror stories out there, some of them which I know personally, that you either end up with a spine split or a pop staple or something of that nature if you're really not careful with pressing. So there's a lot of amateur pressing going on out there. Hopefully those guys will get better, but a lot of books get ruined as guys figure things out. We happen to use a guy that is extremely good, very cautious, and we were able to work with him very carefully on this book. So a really, really big deal. Some other books that we're sending off, and this is, again, pretty cool. So we'll go all the way to the other end of the spectrum. We have a very modern book. It's extremely popular right now. So it's just Spider-Man 361, the first appearance of Carnage. And one of the things that we really like about this book, you collectors out there will know, this book almost always has a little tick here and a little tick here. It usually has 2 ticks on the front cover, little tears at the bottom of the front cover, and that's the way that came off the printing press. And it's so prevalent in this book that CGC actually does not knock down the grade on the book for those. If they're extreme, they will, but most of the time they just realize that's the way the book came off the press. That's almost always the best you're going to get. But here's a copy. Here's a comic shop copy, so a direct market copy. Looks really, really, really nice. So we're pretty excited about that. Not going to change the grade much, ticks or not, but it's just nice to be able to offer one up that doesn't have that. So that's a great book. Another book that we've had a hard time getting this year, and this is actually picked up again by one of our staff, Wes, who came on board about a month ago and just been doing a fantastic job for us. He's actually the guy in charge of doing all this videos and everything that we're putting out on YouTube. But he bought this book as it came into the store and again paid full market for it. We just felt like it's been so long since we had a copy that we really needed to have a copy. And it's hard to turn down any vintage book when they come into the store. So it's a really nice book. Again, we had this one cleaned and pressed. I think it just came out spectacular for what it is. It still has some defects. It's not a perfect book by any means, but very carefully, we're able to get it cleaned up. Looks really, really nice. Front cover and back cover. What's going to hold this book back is here at the very top of the back cover, there's some yellow staining that's on the cover only, doesn't go into the interior pages or anything. So it's a bit of a bummer, but we're looking at things that at this time back in the 70s, people were buying and reading. They weren't buying and immediately putting it away and holding it for hopefully some future value increase. So it's really nice to get a copy that's this nice. I'm not sure what's going to come back at with that stain. I'm hoping for an 8. There's been other opinions, anywhere from 7.5 to 8.5, so I think we'll be pretty comfortable with that. Another awesome book that's rarely seen in this condition is Savage Tales #1. I'm not going to pull this one out. Really nice book. Just don't get them in this condition at all, and don't nearly get it as often as we do Savage Sword of Conan. Savage Tales #1, when it came out, only 50 cents. Came out on the newsstand, so it was with the magazine. It wasn't on your comic spinner rack where all of us kids were buying comics back in the day. And that's where that came from. So really anxious to see what that'll get. One of the nicest copies we've ever had. And then finally, something that we're really excited about also, kind of dug into the A1 archives, which basically is that room that Indiana Jones left in the first movie where you just have boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes. So my young son, who has insatiable curiosity, he goes through all the boxes that I've been putting away for the last 35 years. And we came up with some different books. So here we have X-Men #1, extremely common book, but very popular. It's the perfect demographic book right now. But this one has 3 autographs. It has a Stan Lee autograph, has a Jim Lee autograph, and it has a Chris Claremont autograph. They're all done very nicely. This was when Stan's signature was still looking very nice. He wasn't doing everything in just black felt. They're actually very subtle on the cover. I mean, you have to really look to find that Jim Lee's autograph is right there. So we're excited about that because this is a real piece of history. You have all the creators. Unfortunately, Stan is no longer with us, but Jim Lee's still doing great things in comics. Chris Claremont's still active as a retired professional, and hopefully we'll get more and more work out of him. But it'll just be fun to see what grade we get on this. And this is a book that goes to CBCS, and CBCS does a really nice job, particularly with signature series books. You can send them a book with an autograph. They will have it verified. So it's an additional charge in addition to the encapsulation charge, but they're really very good at it. They're very reliable, and we've never had a single problem with them on that. So we're really excited about sending that off. We have a whole bunch of books to them. We have multiple copies of the X-Men 1. All the different, it came out in 5 different covers. I believe we have all 5 covers with triple signature. We have, here's the Wolverine #4 from the limited series. Again, Chris Claremont signature up here at the top. A lot of letters in his name, so a pretty good signature, unlike the Bill Sienkiewicz. Stan Lee, again, a really nice signature for Stan and positioned very nicely on this book. Actually, I think sometimes the way they put signatures on books, if they don't really think about where they're putting it, actually detracts from the cover. But these guys did a great job here. Right across a very bright logo, so it doesn't really interfere with it. Right to the right of Wolverine's left shoulder. So, very nice. And then we have some other things. As always, Marvel Superheroes Secret Wars. Was this the most graded book? Is this what we decided, or is there... ASM 300 is overtaken. I know that when I started grading books, this was the one that was graded the most often. But yeah, Lamon says still top 10. But with the advent of the popularity of Amazing Spider-Man 300, and rightfully so, that one has really taken over. So all kinds of things. Here's John Romita Jr. on Spider-Man #1. No, I apologize. I believe that's a very stylized John. No, it is. That's interesting. 7,500 copies, John Romita Jr. This was actually a Dynamic Forces, who's a company that's still active. But that's not the usual JR signature that I'm used to. Usually it just says JR. It looks like a cross between he and John Byrne, so that's very interesting. But he signed that. And then something a little bit more obscure, but really cool here for us locally. The Max, signed by Jim Sinclair, who I believe was the inker at that time. Jim's a local guy, super nice guy, great in comics, just great at anything that he does. Really enjoy seeing him in the store. And then, again, when you talk about positioning a signature, what could be better than that? So Jim signed this one right in the white on this glow-in-the-dark Max #1. So again, stuff that we're really excited about seeing. So a lot of good things happening here. I would say again, to follow up, we paid full market for the Showcase 4. We paid full market for Amazing Spider-Man 129. Really high percentages, again, based on market, not based on Overstreet. So if you're selling books or you're selling collections and somebody just pulls out the price guide, it's going to work on a lot of books, but it doesn't work on everything. So I would advise you to really look around. Give us a call if you have questions. We advise all the time at no cost. But check back with us. We should have these books back in about 2 weeks, and we'll come back and show you the results.